Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Get Real show with Kenneth, Clifford, and guest David Hoffmeister. And today's theme is defenselessness. And I actually had a prayer from the course that we could read before we start. And it's from Vigilance to Peace, chapter 7. The mind that accepts attack cannot love. That is because it believes it can destroy love, and therefore does not understand what love is. If it does not understand what love is, it cannot perceive itself as loving. This loses the awareness of being, induces feelings of unreality, and results in utter confusion. Your thinking has done this because of its power, but your thinking can also save you from this because its power is not of your making. Your ability to direct your thinking as you choose is part of its power. If you do not believe you can do this, you have denied the power of your thought and thus rendered it powerless in your belief. And I had a short parable from last night about controlling the direction of your thinking and the belief in sacrifice, and how defenselessness ties into all that, because I had this control come up over dinner last night, and I was out of food and I had a thought, go to the store. And I think there was some unworthy feeling of listening to the guidance in the moment. So then this rage came up from listening to the ego instead of telling me, no, it's okay to be lacking, and don't eat, this is the way to salvation. Long story short, it's okay. You just need to push past this. You don't need to eat anymore. You don't deserve that, or whatever the ego story was. And then I had a moment of defenselessness when finally I just dropped the defenses and I just listened, and I heard, just go to the store. And it was humility. And it's and then I just followed that prompt. And then, it's buy ice cream, buy whatever, different items. And then my trust was building in the Holy Spirit, because I could see, wow, the sacrifice, I was actually doing it to myself. And the defenselessness allowed me to even hear the Holy Spirit in the first place, so that the trust could build back up again and make the connection in the end. So yeah, that was just a beautiful experience I had that I wanted to share with you guys. And so hi Ken and hi David.
Hey everyone. I'm just going to put it back onto... Oh, there we go. There's David. Good to see you all. Thank you so much for coming. Being blessed on this Thursday. Together as always. Welcome, David. Thanks for coming.
Oh, lovely. I saw a lot of smiling faces when Andy said the Holy Spirit told me, go to the store and buy ice cream. All these faces light up. Now that's my kind of Holy Spirit. Yes. Oh, sweet. What a beautiful topic. Kenneth, you picked another beautiful one.
Oh yeah, this is one of my favorites. Because I don't understand it. I was thinking about it. It was it's not really one of those things that we talk about, defenselessness in seeming life, and it's all actual life is really ego life is how to seemingly try and protect yourself. And learn to be defensive. Really, that's kind of the system. Actually, the system is probably the more defensive you are, the less likely you're going to get yourself into any problems. And of course, the very thought in having problems is what perpetuates the issue in the first place. So this is a very dear topic in my heart. It's very, very important to me, actually. And that's why I've always got stuck on that statement. Defenselessness is strength. And it's wow, that's amazing. That sounds well out of my understanding right now. So it's like on my Christmas tick list, you know. It's like, okay, Santa, I'll have defenselessness is strength, please. That seems like a good thing. So that's what goes on my tick list these days. In my bucket list, I'm like, yeah, that sounds really worthy, to put my mind into that. And it's just felt like, really, like Jesus wanted us to talk about this so badly. It's like, oh my God, can it be any more obvious, really? And that's why I just love, you know, people ask me, how do you come up with the themes? Well, in truth, I really don't. It's like super like listening. I'm just listening to everybody, listening to whatever I'm hearing and listening to everyone around me. And then it's like it's all in this sort of jumble. And then it's like, okay, Jesus, you sort out the jumble that is in my mind and come through with what's needed. And so this was the theme that, oh my God, it touched my heart and I can feel it now. And it's like every time I've spoken about with someone this week, because it's been like a whole week since Thursday, that this has just been building and building and building. And then more and more miracles have been happening around it. And it's just like, wow. And that actually started with my friend Wesley. And so that's why I asked Wesley and I said, hey, Wesley, would you mind coming on and sharing? Because it just felt like so worthy to share with everybody what happened, and just Wesley's devotion and dedication to wanting to be defenseless. And so, you know, for both of us, really, that has been sort of like the complete opposite of the seeming characters. And so it felt like that there was a deep, deep prayer that happened between us, really. And really it's God's prayer. It's Jesus's prayer for us. He orchestrates everything, but somehow this moment in time that we came together has sprung into something very, very beautiful. And I just felt that was like so worthy to share, and it just felt so expansive. And so maybe we can open up Wesley's microphone. Andy, please. I'm just going to go to speaker view now.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Wesley. Oh, just thank you so much for your willingness to come on and just share, because it's just like, okay, just do the freaking out first.
Okay.
Okay, I'm better. Yeah, that's it. But it was just so beautiful, Wesley. For me, it was like, oh my God, I don't know, we just joined in something so deeply. And just like a little bit of the setup, like, because I don't even know the full story. I just sort of like came in, and it was like beautiful for me because I didn't need to know what was happening, and it just didn't matter. Like, I just knew what was happening, you know. It was kind of crazy. And it was like, actually what we've been talking about, David, is like, you know, everything is a call for love. And I feel like that's just been in my mind like a lot. And of course it's like my call for love. And it was almost like, okay, here is a call for love. And it didn't matter what had gone on. I didn't need to know the story. And it was just like, something needs to happen here, and Jesus wants to speak. And that's literally like what happened. So maybe you can sort of share the story, Wesley, and just like, because there was like so much emotion for you, and just like it felt like a huge release, like you were just releasing the world. And in fact, it was like, you know, for me, like you were just releasing me, and I was just like, thank you, Wesley, thank you. It was all for me without a doubt. It was like you were me, and I was just seeing myself, and I was like, this is a call for love. I need to love him. And that was my release. I gave everything that I needed. So it was just so perfect. But I just want to know like your full process, because we didn't sort of get to sort of share that, but it just felt like there was this huge just ripple just went out everywhere. And I felt like this huge commitment like that came over you in your heart for what we're doing. So I'd love for you to really like just share that with us.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And it's continued since then. This morning, the day before, and it's like just an ongoing practice. But when it started around that point in time, we were in the kitchen at La Casa, and we were picking for the garden. And I was in the kitchen originally with AC, Anna Carroll, and I kept getting triggered, and she also kept getting triggered. And it was like every choice that I'd made that day, she had made the opposite choice, and then she had spoken about it. And every time it was like uncovering this grievance that I had. And then I'd left to go get some food because we were working for quite some time, and I was feeling tired. I was feeling like I needed some food, and I went and got the food. I felt guilty for leaving the kitchen because there were still so many people working, and here I was off in another place eating and having a conversation, and I saw the guilt come up, and I did my best to feel it. I expressed that I have guilt coming up, and this is what it's about. And then I saw somebody walk by the window. That was the seeming trigger of the guilt. Like they were just the projection of where I thought this guilt was, what was triggering this guilt. And so I expressed all of this stuff. And as I was walking back to the kitchen, I said to Angie, my partner, I said, I just experienced guilt, so I'm going to get angry. I just see the mechanics of this: guilt and then anger, guilt and then anger, guilt and then anger. And so then I said, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. And so we went into the kitchen, and the person who I thought I was going to receive some sort of feedback from that would trigger the guilt was like, la la la, it's all good. And so I just like let it go. Like I was like on the lookout for this anger coming. And then I was working next to AC, and somebody had, I can't remember, they said something about music, and I grabbed the freezer door, and I started opening and closing the freezer door to make it sound like a subwoofer. Doof, 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 doof. And it really triggered her. And I had all these previous triggers through my first foray in the kitchen that day with her. And I just instantly, the anger came up, and I said, I don't think anything would make you happy. Like, and then I realized what was going on, and I put my hands up in the air and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. And then you walked in and basically gave me everything that I needed. And I mean, I also see the me in you, the me that's, gone down this road before me and knows some of these steps. And then as soon as you walked in, I was just like ready and open to receive whatever was being given, because it wasn't you, it was me, it was spirit, it was Jesus. And I was just, it was time. And it wasn't just about that. It was like, I was open to receive what you said. And it was like, I was waiting for this opportunity to be in service in a deeper way. And then I spoke about that, and I didn't know what it was. David had mentioned when, like, I come back to La Casa to connect with Ken. I saw that as guidance. And then that was the moment. And there was just this surrender, and it was surrender into defenselessness. It was surrender into the function of working in the garden. It was surrender to receiving the beautiful healing gifts that you give in the healing that you've done around this particular issue. I mean, it looks like it happened in this moment, but there was another, like Lisa Fair is here also, and she had presented the idea of, in your defenselessness, your safety lies. And it's just been, it's like these seeds have been planted in my heart, and they're growing, and I'm making a different choice. It's like there's this pattern interrupt now, where there's this mechanic of guilt and anger, and now there's like, okay, well, if this guilt shows up, then the pattern interrupt is in my defenselessness, my safety lies, and to hold this in my awareness and be present with these feelings and just keep doing the practice. And I even this morning I did that with my partner. It was like, she said something and all the automatic thoughts came up, and then I just closed my eyes and went back in my defenselessness, my safety lies. And I just watched the mechanics of it, and I saw how none of it was me, that there was no person, there was no essence in the mechanics of guilt and then anger. It's just this machine. And then it's consistently allowed me since then to move back into seeing my own innocence and falling into like trust in a way, and softness in my chest that I haven't been able to access for seemingly, well, I don't know, ever, but like at least for a long time. And yeah, it was like, and that was the turning point in that moment in the kitchen. And it was just like there was a letting go. There was like a putting down my shield, so to speak, and allowing like whatever it was to just come. And because there's nothing outside of me, and whatever is going to come is simply on my own thoughts, my own attack thoughts, and everything that comes just simply needs to be forgiven. And in my defenselessness, all there is forgiveness and a letting go of all of the subject matter of my mind that shows up in the seeming world outside of me. And then it all has an opportunity to come, and everything that comes then can bring me deeper. Everything is an opportunity to go deeper in my defenselessness. Mm-hmm. And then it's just like I was expressing this morning, and I was just feeling this place of it's infinite trust. Defenselessness is infinite trust. And yeah, just coming to rest in the love of God.
Yeah, it's like you know, when, because I was interested in when we were talking, there was like some emotion that really came up, and it felt like there was a big release. Can you remember what was the specific that really sort of like touched you? Like somehow it felt like some sort of pattern was like falling away in your mind, and there was just a huge sort of release, and just I felt your gratitude. That's what I felt, like this deep gratitude was just like, yeah.
It was God's love. I could see you as this person, this situation, this circumstance. It was all just God's love, and it was there to save me. Hmm. And it was just this recognition and this gratitude, and being back at La Casa and having all of these beautiful reflections, the support, David, yourself, all the people at Quantico, the people who come here and do the landscaping. Like this place is amazing. And it doesn't have to be this place. God's love is everywhere, but it's so obvious here. And in that moment, that's what I saw. And I put down my, the defensiveness towards you, like I'm a man and you're a man and I need to compete with you. And then it was like, no, this beautiful human being is here as a messenger of God, and he's here to save me. And it wasn't conceptual. It was just this like heartfelt open, like my heart opened in a way, and that hasn't happened before.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Wesley, because for me it was so interesting. Like I just walked in the room, so I'd missed like whatever the sort of grievance was, so I didn't really know what it was. But then as soon as I walked in the room, it was like, I was like activated, it was like, boom, like, okay. And the presence just like came over me. And then you just had your hands up in the air. And then somehow I just knew what to say without knowing what the situation was. And then I remember I was just I put my hand on your shoulder or something. And then we just started like talking. And it was like, I was seeing myself. And it was like that part of me that I haven't been able to soothe or something, like this like part, like, please help me. Like, I just don't know how to stop this. And it was like, I saw that in you, and it was like my chance to stop that within me. And it was like, you don't have to do this any longer. We're in this together. And then it just felt like this complete and utter joining within that. And then that's when you brought up to me, like, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. And I was like, that's exactly it. I join you so deeply in this prayer. And then it was just like, then the floodgates opened. And then I just remember like holding you, and I was just like holding myself, and you were just like crying on my shoulder and just saying like, thank you. And I was like, thank you. And it was like Jesus just went, this is like this perfect moment in time. It was like, like it was like the apple off the tree, the apple was completely and utterly perfectly ripe for picking, and it was like boom, and Jesus just came in so strongly, and it's like, oh, thank you. And I was like, no, thank you so much. So I felt like you just like took years off me or something. I was like, oh my God, this is a miracle. I was like deeply grateful. And then I just remember saying to you after that, it felt so strong in my heart, and I was like, and I want you to join the garden team. It was just I just couldn't help but I want you to join the garden team. You went, I'm going to join the garden team. And then we had more emotion coming up, and I said, it's not about the gardening, it's about releasing all of this, and it is over. Oh, that's what I said. That's right. And I said, yeah. And Wesley, this is over. And then there was more tears. It was just so powerful. So I just thought, oh my God, this has to be shared. And just, yeah, deep gratitude for you, Wesley, because you just went like full throttle for it and just like, no, I'm going to surrender to this moment. And I could see that like your body was like up, you know, you were like, ah. And it felt like it had to be like a new way this time. And somehow Jesus was like, woof, just completely there. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, oh my God, yeah, thank you so much. And the ripples continued on.
Yeah.
So after this moment, it was on Saturday. That's right. So on Saturday, now this happened on Thursday. Now on the you can keep Wesley on the screen, Andy. On Saturday we had the gardening team, and at the end we start with a meditation and we end with a meditation. And because we're coming to the end of the month, we start a brand new month at Co-Living, because new people come, people go. So it's another invitation to come into the garden and to, you know, really commit to mind training. Really, that's all we're doing. You know, it's Jesus's garden. He deals with the garden. You know, as I said to them, I was telling the story. I said, listen, I have failed 3 times in doing a garden and living miracles. Yeah, and when this garden was offered to me the 4th time, I was like, I sat in this very chair and I went, Jesus, I'm a complete failure at this. I've got no green fingers. I have no clue what I'm doing. I've failed 3 times. If this garden is supposed to happen, it's your garden. And I sat in this very chair just in deep meditation. I'm like, Jesus, it's yours. This is my prayer. Lead me through this, because I can't do it. And I said, I want miracles, I want inspiration, and I want joy. And that's all I want to come of it. And I know that is of you. And it's like the garden is just like, every time I go down there, I like look at it, and I honestly, I can't take any credit for it whatsoever. They're like, isn't the garden looking beautiful? And I'm like, yeah, I have no clue what I'm doing. And that's what they say to me. I'm like, plant that there, put that there. And they're like, you don't know what you're doing, do you? I went, no. And all of a sudden, it just like grows. And we're like, how is this happening? We're growing things we hadn't even planted. We're like, what the hell is this? And it's just like miracles everywhere. And it's like, I look at it and I just think, I could have never have ever done this. But because I put the whole thing on Jesus, I expect miracles, I expect joy, I expect inspiration. And every time I go over there, I just look at the plants and I love you, plants. And they just bring me so much joy. And it's just like beautiful. The whole thing just lights me up. And so we did a meditation at the end of our session on Saturday. And then I just started sharing after we came out of meditation. Hey, it's the start of the month. I think that why don't we really think about our deepest prayer? Like whatever the healing is that you want, like this month is for that. And you know, this is what the garden's all about, really. You know, it's the changing of the mind. So get the intention up front first, whatever it is you want to heal. I want to join you deeply in that prayer, and we're going to expect miracles. And so I was using the reference of Wesley at the time, and I was like, and Wesley has his prayer for defenselessness, and I joined Wesley deeply in that, and I couldn't stop but say it and just using it, and like, look what happened to Wesley. He had that beautiful healing, and just I feel the strength in all of that. And so this is what I want for all of you. Like, you know, go for your biggest grievances, whatever, just go for it. And as I was talking, the whole group went, we all want to be joined in defenselessness this month. And it was like, what? And I just felt like my heart just went vuv, you know, like Jesus was just like so happy. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I was just like so happy in this love. Like Jesus was like, yes, this is the month of defenselessness. And I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. This is so great. So it was like now we'd all joined completely in this beautiful, beautiful prayer. And it was just so nice. And then we all got up and we all had like a beautiful hug. And then on we go to our day, into our days. And in actual fact, for me, my miracle with it it's like that true strength. And what I'd done this month, which this week, which has been so great, I've been loving this really. I'd sunk into this hole of like rejection and abandonment, and all of these thoughts were coming up, and it was like as if I was in the past, right? And then like the ego loves these games, and I got into it. I actually really started getting into it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm so worthless. Yeah, yeah. And I'm really in there, and I'm like I'm really enjoying this victim story about myself. And I'm like, yeah, you're just terrible. Yeah. And I'm completely believing the story. Yeah. And this is why you're so awful and all of this lot. And I'm like, yeah, I'm such a terrible being and all of this lot. I was like really, really thick in it. I'm like going downhill rapidly, like I'm about to die or something. And so slowly little things were picking me up, but I was like, no, I'm still a victim of the world I see. I was right in it. And then all of a sudden we get to, what was it? Tuesday. That's right. This Tuesday, I'm in the garden and I'm watering the plants, and I'm like thinking about the episode, and I'm like, maybe I'll talk about rejection this week. That's I was like, really, yeah, I really need to talk about this because I'm such a victim. And I'm watering the plants. Thank God for the plants. And the plants are like looking at me clearly and like, what are you going on about? And all of a sudden, my mind just went, like, what are you thinking? You are the light of the world. You are a miracle worker, and you're going on about all this nonsense. And my mind just went boom like that, and it just like left me. The whole thing just left me. I went, I am not doing this any longer. What was I thinking? And then it was just so funny that I was like in this great big hole that the ego loves, and then I just broke completely out of it in an instant, and then boom, there I was back to the miracle worker. And you know, whoever needed me, I'm like, no, I'm over here to bestow the miracle. Whatever you need, Jesus, this is what I'm here for. I'm not here to wallow in self-pity. And it was just like, his strength is everything, you know. It's just, yeah. So that was just like my surrender point of like, yeah, I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this to myself. And it was like beautiful for me because, as I said, it's like one of those pits in my mind, and I got out of the pit like that. It's just like boom, it was nothing. And that's what I'm seeing, and this is what I want to share with everybody, because I know when you go in them holes, it seems a lot to get out of. And it's like, but the more and more you keep getting out of the hole, the more and more easy it becomes. And now it's just like, no, I only got to say no, and I'm out again, and I'm here, and I'm available. And so that's the strength that I want to give to everyone, that this is completely and utterly possible. So yeah, that is the absolute truth. So that was like my little miracle. So then I was like, oh, I'm back. I won't be talking about rejection this week, that's for sure. So I was like, okay, Jesus, you've got to tell me what we're going to be talking about. So anyway, Andy, can you bring up Nana for me, please? You can spotlight her and unmute her mic. So anyway, I start talking to Nana about defenselessness, right? And she's like, I want to join in this prayer, right? So she joins in this prayer, and then the next minute she's experiencing all these miracles. So I just thought this is like a beautiful thing of like, it's like we're passing the torch of defenselessness like around the world. Like Wesley and us three, we're in Mexico, and now we're passing the baton, the defenselessness baton, all the way over to Georgia in Europe, halfway around the world. And here we have, it's like another report. We have another report of defenselessness. Over to you, Nana.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I joined your prayer, but I could not really, I thought that it was not really like active in my mind, this theme of defenselessness, but somehow it was activated. Yeah. I can just posted his about his show, and I read these 2 paragraphs from the lesson 153 about defenselessness. And I am in a social media team, so I do a lot of quotes and on images, and I felt this spark in my heart, and I thought like I could do the quote from this. And then we had a social media team call. And before that call, I had this fear and anxiety coming up, and I couldn't really focus on the call. So I started praying like to Jesus. Like I asked him to come in and help me to find this peace. And I kind of surrendered to him. And after that prayer, like I felt his presence and all this peace. And I asked him to like shift my perception of everyone whom like team members. And during this call, I saw everyone, like everyone was so beautiful in my perception. Like I felt all this love pouring through me. Like it was amazing. And I shared this love after the call, but this unworthiness came up and a lot of heaviness, and I was like paralyzed. I could not do anything. I felt so unworthy and self-hatred, and I could not do anything. Like, and I thought, okay, I have to sit with this because I could not really distract even myself. And I just said to Jesus, like, I need a miracle with this because I cannot really handle this. So, and I asked him in my mind, like, do you have any lesson or any phrase for me to focus on? And somehow this defenselessness came in, and I could not really understand the connection between, because I was feeling unworthy. And I read the whole lesson, and I stopped with this paragraph when he says, like, during the day, if you feel like your defensiveness coming up, just pause a moment, and until he says, like Jesus Christ says to you, I am here. And this I am here, like I felt this in my heart, and my heart just opened up, and I felt this love, and I felt like I felt like I wanted to do the quote on Jesus picture. And this picture came up, Jesus image came up to me, and I did this quote on this image of Jesus, and Jesus is looking like straight into my eyes in this image, and he is holding this hand. And I did this quote like at the bottom, like I'm here, and I was looking at it, and then this song came to my mind, like Beautiful Jesus. And I started listening to this song, and I started to look at this picture of Jesus, and I had this like heart opening. I felt like connection with Jesus, and all this love pouring through me and all around me. I felt like, and like he was my heart, not like in my heart, but he was my heart, and he was always here. And I really believed that these words, I am here, that he's always with me. And I had all these thoughts coming up that I really felt there was no doubts. I want to give my life to you. I give my heart, I give my everything. And I had no doubt at all. And I felt all this trust that he cares for me, and he's with me, and he loves me, and like whatever he brings to me is like for my happiness. This was like experiencing unconditional love. Like he does not want anything from me, he just loves me. And I posted this in the group, and I was just sitting and crying and listening to this song. I don't know, it was really beautiful, and I just wanted to share this experience, but I didn't know how. And today just Ken asked me, like, do you want to share your miracle? And I felt a lot of resistance actually, and I said no. But then again, this song came to me, like, and I started listening, and like I don't know, Jesus somehow inspired me to say yes. So here I am.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Nana. Yeah, it was
Thank
funny because
you.
I was a bit nervous in asking you actually. I thought, I don't know how this is going to go, but somehow Jesus wanted this out of the bag. And I was like, do you want to share your miracle? And you were like, ah! I was like, all right, calm down. And then I got the yes, and that was just like so beautiful. But also, there's been another miracle though from that. And maybe you want to share about today with your mum, because you live with your mum and dad and your sister, and there's been so much defensiveness around the relationships, and you've seen in yourself like you're sort of like moving away from them, like you've like changed. You don't want to people please, you want to be true to yourself, and it's like somehow it feels like you're getting further and further apart. And I remember that from my parents, but somehow of course it's always about love. And so I was just feeling your mum, and I was like, your mum is calling for love. I just kept doing it. Your mum is calling for love. And I was like, tell your mum, I've never even met her. I'm like, tell your mum I want to give her a big hug and things. And I just felt all this love for your mum. And she would sometimes come in the room and start talking to us. And I'm like, your mum's calling for this love, but you'd had this sort of like defensiveness around it. So maybe you want to share that miracle that happened today, because I thought that was absolutely beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, I have a lot of defensiveness around them because I have this victim story in my mind really strong. But yeah. And yeah, today she was actually upset. It had nothing to do with me, and I had no problem. But like I started praying. This prayer came to my mind, like I'm here to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent him who sent me. And this prayer came to my mind, and I felt like Jesus was telling me, like, you are here to help her, you are here to love her. And I felt at the same time that I don't know how to love her, so you have to help me with that. And I came to her, and she was like really upset, and I didn't know what to do. So again, this thought came up, like, she's innocent. And as this thought came up, like, I felt this resonance in my body, throughout the body, energy started moving, like she's innocent. I was repeating that. And then this thought came, like, you are son of God. You did nothing wrong. And I was just repeating these thoughts, and I was just standing next to her. And like she started to open up. We hugged each other, and suddenly I felt like all these stories that I created and I projected on her, like I felt like everything lifted from her mind, but my mind. And I felt this lightness over me. I don't know. Yeah, it somehow worked. I don't know about her, but I felt that really strongly. Yeah.
Yeah, because you just said that when you went to her, you just felt Jesus's presence so strongly with you, and your body was like vibrating. You were like, "Okay, Jesus, you've really got to help me with this because I don't know how to do this." And then like you just felt like activated, and then you were just purely seeing her as innocent.
Yeah, I did not do anything. It was like Jesus.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. That's such a beautiful miracle. Oh, yeah, thank you. And thank you so much, Wesley, for pouring your hearts out and sharing these beautiful, beautiful miracles that are for everyone. And that's what I felt. I felt like, wow, Jesus is just like, defenselessness is just going to be bestowed around the world, and we're going to prove it. And so here we are, just sharing all these beautiful miracles with you all. So yeah, I just feel so grateful for this. It's like, no one's in charge of it, and then you hand literally all this over to Jesus, and Jesus is like, boom, boom, boom. He's just working the magic wherever he goes. So I feel like this is a beautiful, beautiful testament to that. So yeah, thank you, Nana. Thank you, Wesley. Yeah, beautiful. I don't know what the time is, David. How are we getting on here? Okay, 39. Would you have some words for us?
It's interesting how in this world of upside down perception that defenses are always associated with strength. So in war, the better your defenses are, that is a good thing. Even in terms of the body and sickness and disease, they would say your body's immune system is your defense against illness. And the stronger that defense is, whether it's through a vaccination or through some magical means, it would say the more defensive you can be, the stronger your immune system is. So it's pretty strange. Everything in the upside down world associates defenses with strength. And I think I came to a point in my life where I started to realize, wow, defense mechanisms are fatiguing. They're weakening my awareness of the light and my actual true strength, because the more defensive we are, whether it's putting our time and effort into trying to make a better body. I mean, you can get fatigued with trying to eat healthy. You can get fatigued with exercise. You can get fatigued with work, where you work and work and work because you think, well, I need a lot of money so then I can get a good sturdy house and I can have a car and we don't really tend to think of food, exercise, cars, houses as defenses, but Jesus is telling us, the more that you put your investment and your mind's energy into the material, then you make matter seem something, and Jesus is telling us it's not that direction. There's nothing the matter with matter. Mary Baker Eddy said there's no mind in matter. There's no life, truth, substance, intelligence in matter. Jesus is telling us that the form is never where the safety is. And so even when you do things for the betterment of the body, a lot of times you have to really look at the motive and say, am I trying to build a better defense against death? Like a belief in a future death. The more successful I am, the more I'll be able to fend off sickness and death. That's not true. So what I started to realize that defenses are always this kind of reactive energy, like you're reacting to fear, and as if the fear is real and you need defenses against fearful things, fearful outcomes, or fearful things in the world. And I find that defenselessness, which is our topic, that's what activates the mind's energy. Like, even in terms of the world, if you talk to most people around the world who don't know anything about metaphysics or the mind, they would say, well, it's good to be kind and it's good to be helpful. Help one another, help your fellow human beings. And yet, from what Jesus is teaching us, how can we ever learn how to be truly helpful if we're defensive, if we're using our mind's energy to defend against fear, when really we have to come to see that we don't even in the end have to be courageous, because courage is staying strong in the face of fear. And Jesus is teaching us that fear isn't real. He's even taking us beyond courage into the natural strength of the mind and the light. So I find in my life that I did invest a lot of time in defending the body, defending the personal identity. I spent an enormous amount of time in the early years, and I think, why was I in university for 10 years? There was some motive in there about getting a good job and a career. What was underneath that? To better the body and to live a good life on earth, and then to fight off death for as many years as possible. It was pretty fearful. I had to realize that the majority of my mind was defensive and fearful, and that wasn't getting me anywhere really, truly that I wanted to be, which was happy, joyful, and peaceful.
Mm.
So what I have discovered, even in spiritual community, that to the extent that you put your mind into defenses, like defending your personality or defending anything, then you're not really available for your function and your joy. Like with the garden, you know, after you said 3 failures, now you handed it over, and it's really been like very joyful. But I hear you saying it's involuntary, you know, like now you're sure that Kenneth is not in charge of this garden, and now everything's growing, and there's so many miracles, and there's so many clearings in the mind that are happening. It's just radiating out to the whole world. It's truly a very fruitful garden, but it's because there's no sense of personal control over it. And I find that's what keeps me energized for all these seeming days and years, is because I'm always in a activated mode of how can I serve the whole? How can I collaborate? It's very energizing when that's your thought all day long, is how can I bless the whole? So, you know, I had a board meeting today. I enjoyed board meetings. Some people go, aren't they boring? I've never really had a boring board meeting, because I'm always there to collaborate and join. And they were telling me, oh, there's all these new language translations of the book that are ready, you know, Slovakian, and there's Spanish, and there's Finnish, and there's all these different things of different books that we have. Kirsten's I Married a Mystic, and different books that we have, and now they're almost ready for ebooks. And that how are we going to get them made into ebooks? I don't know, but let's put the word out and see if anybody would like to try their hand at making ebooks, you know, with these different languages. I don't even speak the languages, so I wouldn't even know where to begin to make an ebook. But I'm always open to collaborations, and how can we bless the whole? How can we shine the light? How can we bring joy and happiness? And to me, that's activating. And then you start to realize, no wonder I was tired and frustrated before, because I was so, the defenses were so accepted that it's almost like that was just my assumption, that that's just the way my mind was. And then now that the defenses have been cleared, there's this vibrant energy that was always there, but it was just covered. It was blocked by, oh, I need to do this and that. And there is, the ego is always saying you have to be practical, but I found the more I was willing to shine the light, that everything was provided. You know, it wasn't that formula that I'd lived with before, you know, education and job and savings and build, you know, build a self. That wasn't really lighting me up at all. And now I find, when I've just given myself over to be used for the whole, that everything, it's like a fairy tale. You know, everything just shows up in the fairy tale without my effort. You know, it's like, okay, what do we got here? Oh, you're here. You're going to join. You want to help out with this? Great. Let's do it. Let's make a symphony here, you know. So that's just what's coming to mind for me. Like, we need to be defenseless in order to feel the joy and the vibrancy and the involuntary nature of the miracle. And if we're stuck in defenses, then it just, yeah, it does seem very frustrating. Like you were saying in the week when you were feeling that rejection, it's like a vibe. If you go down that rabbit hole, you know, it just gets darker and darker the more you fall down the pit. But Jesus is always saying, stop right now. You can stop in an instant, you know. And as soon as you had that moment, you know, it's like, what am I thinking? And boom, you know, you go back to being the light of the world.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, David, for sharing that. Yeah, because, you know, I was just thinking about the garden there, and that has been the practice of defenselessness. And I've seen that in so many things now. It's like I've seen that everything I sort of got in the way of, okay, I need to do this. Oh, it's so heavy. Oh God, this is absolutely awful. Because there's not the trust there. There's not the trust in the miracle. And it's fear again, fear-based. Something might go wrong, so I've got to do it, which builds anxiety, and then you're uptight, and then you can't hear the guidance, as you said, and you're in defense mode, and then seemingly then problems are just coming, and you just feel completely and utterly overwhelmed with the whole situation. But it's like, for me, I was just thinking about the whole process, and it was like, for example, we all prayed on the garden as a community, and it was, hey, it was offered to me, would you like to head up the garden? And it was like, it was a clear yes. It was Jesus. He was giving it to me. And so then that was where the trust was. And it was like, he's saying, hey, this time, are you gonna put it on me? Are you gonna allow me to show you the miracle? And that was sort of like my defenselessness, like, okay, Jesus, like I got on my knees at that point. I cannot do this. Like, I really need your help. And it is like being that child. As I said, I sat in this chair and I felt it so deeply in my heart. Like, I so want to do this for you, Jesus. I know that you want it. And so there we go. You can do it. And the amount of miracles, I could sit here for a year and tell you all the things that happened. I mean, thank God we've been documenting it all. So it's kind of really nice that then I can remember through the pictures, like, oh yeah, this is what happened. And then that happened, because it was all completely and utterly effortless. And then that was like a foundation in my mind to think, wow, if I can do that for Jesus, then I can do anything. Whatever he asks me, I can do, because it's not me that does it. It is him that does it through me. And so that's the beautiful thing, that it just shows you the power of the mind, that really the more and more truly you step back in this defenselessness, actual fact, everything comes to you to support your mind to see the Christ. That's really ultimately what it's doing. It's like, this world is not real. This world is not real. But of course, while we believe in that, we have to keep seeing it. And it's like, see, I'm underneath everything. See, I'm underneath everything. And that comes from that true defenselessness. So I just feel this is a beautiful lesson for me, and feel deeply grateful now, like that others are joined in it. And then it just feels exciting. It's just like amazing. Like, the whole garden team joined into it. Wesley sort of passed it to me, and I was like, thank you, Wesley. And then we passed it on to the garden team. All the garden team went, yeah, we're all into defenselessness. And then from that, it got passed to Nana, and Nana's like bestowing miracles on her mother. And wherever she goes, she's like, I've had enough of this defensiveness with my family. I'm going to be a miracle worker. She lets go of her defense. And I just thought, wow, Jesus really wants to share this. So this definitely has to be talked about on the episode, to give this miracle away now to like everyone. Everyone needs to know this. So yeah, it feels like such an honor to do that and see his work is just it's magnificent. So I wondered, David, do you feel to open it up?
Yeah. I see there's 4 hands, digital hands
already.
So
yeah,
and ready to jump in there.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's see if we can get through as many hands as we can.
Thank you, guys. And we have Sheila. We can go with her.
Hi, thank you.
Hey, Sheila.
Hey, I just saw you started this session saying, Jesus really wanted you to talk about this so badly. Like, could it be more obvious? And what happened last week is I had shared on Thursday, and I felt so embarrassed. And guilt, because it took up so much time. All this stuff was going through my mind, and then it just felt like this, like my chest was so heavy, and I even felt like my throat, like I felt like I was choking, like it was, and it just was getting worse and worse. And I even had to, like at some point in the evening, I even had sent you an email, Ken. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I feel like kicking the shit out of myself. Like I feel like a psycho. Like I feel like kicking the shit out of myself. Like I want to punch my own face. And I had this movie, and never know what anything is for. I think I watched a movie and I put something on hold at the library, whichever. And I had this movie, and I was like, I'm just gonna watch this movie. And then there was this scene in this movie that this was Thursday evening, and it was my thoughts were on the movie, and I was just like, what's real? Like not even knowing what was real, but it was the best 153 scene I've ever seen in a movie, and it was Insurgent, and she's in the fear simulator or whatever, and she thinks that for her final obstacle she needs to fight like this bad boss, Kate Winslet or whatever, and Kate just laughs at her. She's like, oh sweetie, you think you have to fight me? Like I'm not the biggest fight for you. I'm not the person that hates you the most, or not the one you hate the most. And then all of a sudden the character's self appears, and it's her. It's like, you have to fight you. And I was like, what's happening? Like, because I'm feeling this and journaling through this, and I'm like, what's going on? And so her character is like, and they're fighting, and just seeing like she can't beat her character because her character knows her moves. Like her character's, she hasn't trained more than her character. Just like the ego, like it's just like, if I want to get tough, well, so my ego is just as tough kind of thing. And then his ego is saying the same things, like these thoughts that I'm having. And it was just like, nobody is ever going to love you. You're always going to be alone. Nobody wants anything to do with you. And she says, and it was the most powerful sentence, and then she says like, and nobody is ever going to forgive you. And at that moment, the girl just realizes, I don't know, like the whole clue to the whole thing, or the answer. And she was like, you're wrong, because I will. And once she stood in that truth, and she's standing there to fight, and her ego is ready to come at her, like herself coming at her. And she says like, you're wrong, because I will. And she puts her hands down. It's the most powerful 153 I've ever seen. She puts her hands down, and her character comes running at her and just shatters, because it was like she stood in her truth and with her hands down and was like, I forgive myself. And the ego just nothing. And it was so much. And I was just like, whoa, what's going on? Like not understanding what's going on. Like, why did I go on your show last week? And like, I don't know, like, I feel like I looked like an autistic schizophrenic drunk. Like I couldn't even watch it. I was like, no. And I couldn't even hear what you and David said to me afterwards, because it had already started where it was like this. And so I allowed myself to even, a couple days later, to go back and look at what you guys said. I was like, that's not what I heard. This was such a beautiful thing that you guys, like, you guys had such a beautiful response, but I didn't hear that. It had already started. And then when I seen that night, and all I could do was just like be like, I'm not the author of myself, therefore I don't know what anything is for. How can I know my advancements from my retreats if I don't know what anything is for? And just this feeling that this 153 was so powerful. And it was just like, no. And then I had this feeling that I was supposed to share it with you guys. It was like, they know, like it was, they know, like I'm supposed to share it here. And the next day, no, it's these ones, but the next day I went to go pick up a coffee, and the drive-through was closed, thankfully. So I went inside, and 153, someone just put a comment. It's just the defenselessness, my safety lies, the lesson. But I went to get a coffee, it was closed, and I went inside, and all of a sudden I it was just like, it started slowly. Like I could feel someone that I care about so much, almost like a hug. I could feel, and then it got bigger, and then it got bigger. And then I just crying in the gas station, because I was just like, this place is just love. Like it just felt like this, like it was just so, I couldn't even, I don't know, like I don't know how to explain, but it felt like going through that and getting to that defenselessness was what brought that. And the whole time thinking afterwards, being like, it's something I'm supposed to share with you. And then ego being, well, Ken didn't respond to your email. They don't want anything to do with you because you took up so much time on their show. They don't, and going on and on. So I wasn't going to get on the show. I was like, no way. And I just walking out the door and I happened to glance at my phone and I get a notification that your show starts. And it's like defenselessness. It's like, I told you, you have, like, this is what they know about this. They know that this is happening, kind of thing. And so thank you. I don't know. Thank you all. And when that happened, when I was watching that movie, I looked down on the coffee table and David's book was there. And it was This Moment Is Your Miracle. And it was just like, as that was happening, it was just like, this moment is your miracle. And being like, what? Kind of trying to figure this out. Not that I could, but it was just like, okay, I don't know what this world or what this thingamajig or place is, but yeah, there's way more to it, I guess, than I have any clue. So thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you, Stephen. Precious.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sheila. Oh, that's just so beautiful. I just so admire your courage. You know, it's just like beautiful. Like you were just in this space of like despair, you know, the ego's just like battering you, you know, and there you are just going through it, and it just shows how much Jesus is there. And hey, here's the perfect movie for you to show this defenselessness. And then slowly, okay, you can get a little bit of rest from that. And then you just end up thinking about a friend and having this like the love that's coming over you. But each time you just keep coming and you just keep coming. And that's just what it takes. But also it is about being gentle with yourself. I think that's one of the keys to everything. So I know I'm saying this to myself as always. It's like this lesson keeps coming up and Jesus is like, yeah, it's for you, mate. And it's like, yeah, just truly be gentle with yourself and look what he does through you and showing that defenselessness. So it's just beautiful that this whole session is completely and utterly for you. So I just feel so much gratitude for you coming on again and showing this and just demonstrating the miracle to everybody, because everybody's been in that position where they just are in despair and they just don't know how to get out of it. And now you've just demonstrated exactly how to get out of it. So thank you so much, you beautiful miracle worker. Oh, I love you, Sheila.
Thank you, Sheila. Next up is Jacob.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, Jacob.
Hey. So I definitely felt the share on this topic. Especially you and Wesley have always resonated with, because I feel like there's maybe some kind of past, though that doesn't exist, but a past of like attack and defense that I can relate to. And like I've contacted Wesley before, contacted you just and joined on it. And yeah, just like you were saying this morning in your talk about like a past of violence, and I've had that myself. And it's just amazing how important it is that, you know, to not attack is to not defend, you know. And yeah, basically what I've been noticing also is that like so many fights, you know, that have happened either verbally or physically were always kind of started almost always because there was this attempt to like fix something or to like get into false empathy, almost like, you know, like say something back that would help. So it's almost like so deep to realize like that defensiveness and false empathy are almost like the same thing, and true empathy and defenselessness are like the same thing, because it's like you're not trying to solve an illusory problem, or you're not trying to like get into a discussion about something and trying to fix or help something. And you know, I even shared it with Andy. He's my roommate here. Like, how many times I feel like false empathy has gotten to me into a fight with somebody, and or would get me angry. And at first he wasn't sure what I meant, and then as time went on, it was like we both kind of saw it together. It was like, wow. And so it's amazing that the theme for you guys is defenselessness, and here we've been really focused on it too, like true empathy, defenselessness. And so it's like it's in the mind. It's been like the theme. It's in the mind. So I just want to say, like, I'm grateful for Wesley sharing and your sharing this morning, because I can like relate so much. And yeah, like, and also what David said about like how by defending, it's like you're blocking the miracle from coming in. And sometimes, even though I feel like I've had many miracles, sometimes it still seems obscure what a miracle is. But as you guys are all talking and we're all getting excited about like all the miracles that come in after we're defenseless, it's like now I can experience what it is through all of you, through all of us together joined in on this. And then it's like, oh, I know exactly what a miracle is experientially now, because it's like, oh yeah, and I've experienced it before too. So it's like, yeah, it's just it's like yesterday I was just, all this anger was coming up and I just felt so disheartened in this argument I was having. And it was just like, oh my God, the amount of rage that I was feeling was so intense. And it was like, oh my God, there's that like disheartened thing, like, oh, I'm never going to get through this without going crazy. I'm never going to go down this awakening path without going nuts. And it's like when you feel that much rage and you can tell that that's inside of you, you're like, oh my God, I'm so afraid of like losing it, you know? And it just like, and then all that momentum seems to go down. And then I noticed like, oh, wow. Like really, as soon as I like allow to like let that calm down, I notice how important it is also to have like, to not take things seriously, to have a sense of humor, you know, and to just like laugh. And like little by little, like, you know, the mind just starts to calm down. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I just took something so seriously. And that's like main issue. So I kind of like always seem to connect like seriousness with defensiveness and false empathy. It's all like that consequential energy. You know, it's like that consequential, like there's a problem and like it really matters what's going to happen. And then there's like that energy that comes in. So yeah, like, yeah, basically I notice how important it is for me to just like, just to like laugh at myself afterward and be like, and just like forgive myself for even, and then it all turns around, you know? So, yeah, that's all I have for now, but thank you guys. And I feel really connected to you and Wesley's sharing as well. So it's beautiful. Go defenselessness.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Jacob.
Thank you, Jacob. Next up, we have Muna.
Hi.
Hey, Muna.
Yeah, thank you for defenselessness. It's been on my mind for quite a while. I think if I'm completely honest, I don't know what defenselessness is, because one of the things the ego gets a lot of airtime from me is physical defenselessness, because once you believe or you have memories of physical attacks, then it's really very difficult to disentangle things, because the ego takes you there, and that part of the mind that believes you are a body, then it becomes a matter of life and death. And I actually put out a call for prayer and support with Living Miracles, because I distinguish there's like a distressed part of my mind, like there's this thought that I'm not going to make it, like you know, in a rape trauma, when you are 100% a body, that's it, you're vanquished anyway. So it's like the moment before death, that thought that comes to your mind, I'm not going to make it. And that's it. You go under and you can't breathe, and all of life stops until you leave your body, and then you can breathe again. But I noticed when you're all talking that there's like layers of defenselessness, because okay, that part of the mind that's really difficult to heal is the belief in a body and belief in death, and you have these difficult memories, but that's just one part of it. What I distinguished now is that there's also beliefs. There is also like, although that's a very strong memory, it has to be a belief for truth to be true, but that's still something I need to work on. What I also distinguished is this, because I couldn't physically defend myself, I was still a child. What came instead of physical defense, because I just felt so weak and like so vulnerable. The word defenselessness is a dirty word in my mind. Defenselessness means what I went through. I was so defenseless, I get vanquished and I get beaten and I got defeated. And so my only defense became opinions. I became very opinionated. I became incredibly analytical. I became an observant of social attitudes and why people do what. So I became totally engrossed in understanding what happened intellectually, but also there's this role of opinions and sarcasm and cynicism that I think is what you described, David, last time. This life of desperate, I don't know what did you call it? Life of quiet desperation. It always rang a bell for me, and I think this desperation comes from this wall of defensiveness, which is opinions and analysis and being more intelligent than others and more clever. And it's the only way I could survive. So, but that 100% stops love. And it's a miracle in itself that I do sometimes connect with love. It's a miracle that I do see massive miracles. I don't know how they come through this darkness, but I've distinguished today this wall of opinions and analysis. It's really just a complete defense against love and miracles. So thank you, Kenneth. Fantastic subjects. That really hit the nail on the head.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I wanted to read to you what I put in my post, because I think it's for everyone, and it feels just absolutely perfect in what you're saying. I'm just going to get it up here. And it was what Nana shared that really touched her, that it was I am here when he said that. And so this is for you from Jesus. Today our theme is defenselessness. We clothe ourselves in it as we prepare to meet the day. We rise up strong in Christ and let our weaknesses disappear as we remember that his strength abides in us. We will remind ourselves that he remains beside us through the day and never leaves our weaknesses unsupported by his strength. We call upon his strength each time we feel the threat of our defenses undermine our certainty of purpose. We will pause a moment as he tells us, I am here. Can you unmute, Andy?
Yeah, I think that's so beautiful. makes me want to cry.
Mm.
But yeah, I've always seen this, seeing the light as literally going through the eye of the needle, and it's this belief in physicality and death, and then into the light.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, I think something that might be helpful, somehow on my Facebook feed, I'm on this channel, I must have followed it, but it just shows every day they approach an animal that has been neglected and left out. You know, every little clip I see, it starts off with a shaking, vulnerable animal with fear in their eyes. Oftentimes they're quite expert at running. You know, they're hard to even catch. And then the video progressively just shows someone coming and bathing them and taking them in and basically just showering them with love and affection. And it's a span. Every single time I watch it, it's a different animal, it's a different context, but they start off with a quivering, terrified, horrified animal, and then they just use the narration of talking to it. You can hear them talking to it and petting it and stroking it. And you know, I think sometimes we enjoy watching movies where there's a character transformation. We like to see somebody who's been kind of left for dead, you know, rise up and break through. You know, we like a movie where there's a character transformation, like the phoenix rising from the ashes. But I also think it's quite helpful with animals because when, you know, the before and after is just so huge. And as many times as I watch those, you know, it's the same kind of a gush of love that comes, like, thank God for the power of love and the kindness. And then you can see, and the eyes get soft, and then they get cuddly and affectionate. It's just a 360 turn. But I don't know, I think I must have clicked follow, and so they're always coming up on my one of my feeds, you know. So I get to see these, and it's just heartwarming, you know, because we have to admit that it's going to take a turnaround, and it's going to take a convincing, because we were very, very convinced of the abuse. We were very convinced of the darkness. That memory is lodged. It's lodged in there. It's got a deep root. And then whatever it takes for us to revisit and review and see a witness, any witness. Maybe it takes 10,000 witnesses or 100,000 witnesses of transformation, or 1,000,000 witnesses. But whatever it takes, you know, that's why we're here, joining together to cheer each other on, to really have that be free. Because until we start to really make that turn inside, then, like you're saying, the words get turned around. Defenselessness gets associated with helplessness, or, you know, vulnerability or something. It gets, the word association is strong, and then the course is like reinterpreting everything. And a lot of times when people read it, you know, they'll read a lesson, you know, if I defend myself, I'm attacked. And they'll say, what does that mean? Because the words are put together in such a way that they've never heard them before. And also to realize that this is a very deep journey. I know there's a lot of, because I've been around the course for these 35 years, so I've got to witness the whole history of the course coming to the world. And you get to see even eminent course teachers that really have a sense of healing that's coming through them and everything, but that we've had things like copyright controversies where all of a sudden hiring lawyers and going in and getting depositions, from people that have given their whole life to the course. It just shows how the ego is just waiting to come out over something, over even something as silly as who owns the words of Jesus. Now that people may laugh at that, but I've got to witness it, firsthand, because I lived through the whole period of the course. So I've got to really watch everything, and then you can bring it back to yourself and say, yeah, I have to just keep showing up and keep my little spark, my little bit of willingness. I've got to keep that little spark nurtured, to keep coming with it. So yeah, we keep saying that to everyone on the show. Thank you for your courage and your willingness to keep coming forward in the face of what seems to be a heavily stacked deck of darkness. You still are coming once again. As Rumi says, no matter how many times you've broken your vows, come yet again one more time. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to add to that, like, that's why mighty companions are so important for us to be able to feel safe. And sometimes there's things that need to be worked through with someone you trust. And I just remember, like, I knew that I was calling for love, but I just didn't know how to. And I felt very, very defensive. And I needed to sort of share my thoughts, my deepest, darkest thoughts. And I thought that I would be completely and utterly rejected. And Lisa Fair was like the one that was like given to me, and it was just like I could pour out everything, and she's like, you did nothing wrong, I love you. And I'm like, who the hell is this woman? I just literally meet her, I fly all the way over to Utah, I'm like, I'm going to Utah, I'm sharing all my private thoughts, this is the only time I've got, I'm going for it. And there she was. It was like this sort of like meeting in the perfect moment. And it was just like Lisa was there, and I just remember the first time that I met her. Eric was over the house. She said, "Oh, Lisa wants to meet you in the sanctuary." I was like, "Oh my God, who the hell am I meeting now?" It's like the first day, and there I am. I'm early, and I'm sitting in the sanctuary, and she comes in and just welcome, and just gives me such a big hug. "Now you come and talk to me every day," and she was just like loving me, and I just felt this like love was just like going towards me, and I was like, is this for real? Of course, my mind I wasn't used to it, but I could just feel her heart. I felt her truth, and I was like, is this for real? I think it's for real. I think I'm supposed to pour my heart out here. And I just remember that, of crying with her in deep gratitude, just like, thank you, Lisa. And she's like, thank you. And just like, she was like holding me when I was in gratitude, holding me when I was just like, I'm such a terrible being. This happened. I'm so defensive. I'm just awful. And she would just hold me, and I could feel all this stuff like rattling through my body. And it just built up that trust. It's like the trust is really in my mind, and I'm calling forth those witnesses. And it was like, I had the witnesses of violence and all kinds of different things happening in life. And I just thought, I'm never going to be able to shift this. And then all of a sudden, my whole world is turned upside down, and I've got all this love coming towards me. And I have no clue how I did it. I don't even know how to accept it. Like, I have to be defenseless to this, because I have to surrender to this. And I knew that this was a huge part of it. As Jesus teaches, like, I trust my brothers who are one with me in 181. And it was like, I had to make that step. And I felt like she really just like cracked something inside of me, like, okay, dare to trust again. And of course, really, ultimately, it's trusting with him, because he does it. He does everything. But it's like, I needed that witness to really like hold me in that and be like, it's okay. It's, everyone, it's like being a child. The child always needs someone to say, it's okay, you're going to be all right. And then it's like, okay, then you can rest. And she was that one for me. It's going to be okay. You can get through this. So this is what I'm offering now. It's okay. You're going to get through this. Thank you, Muna.
Thank you, Muna. Next up is Anne-Marie.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Anne-Marie.
Hi. Yeah, well, there's certainly a few miracles happening. I wasn't going to come on the Zoom tonight because it's at 8 o'clock in the evening here. It starts because I had a Zoom meeting before. But I came off that Zoom meeting and something just said, no, you're going on Ken's Zoom. And I went, okay. And I didn't know what the title was. And then when you started talking about defenselessness, I thought, oh boy, okay. So it's reached the UK, okay? So the baton's come over here. And yay! And it is just like, wow, talk about one mind, you know, it's just blows me away. And basically what happened for me over the last sort of couple of days, I've been asked to do a funeral for a family who's actually a friend of mine, as I'm an interfaith minister. So I do the occasional funeral and wedding, that kind of stuff. So anyway, I went and saw the family the other day, and Celia, the lady who has passed, she'd already chosen her plot. And but unbeknown to the family, it was part of a church. The plot is okay to go as a multi-faith minister, but if the family want the service in the church, it has to be the vicar and a Christian service. And the family don't want that. And so the vicar apparently said to the funeral director, no, we can't have a minister doing it. And basically said, is she ordained? I need to talk to her. And so all this message came through to me via the funeral directors, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness. And I felt, oh my God, I've got to defend myself. I've got to prove my worth to her. And then I felt inferior. I thought, oh, well, she's a vicar. She's obviously really important. And then I just thought, no, I'm not going to do that. Come on, you know this. And in my head, for me, it was about overlooking the error and seeing, the joining. And she's my sister. She's not anything different to me. And I thought, I don't need to defend myself. I don't need to prove myself. I don't need to do any of that. And so I kind of just had to really sit with God, with Jesus, and just said, look, I can't do this. I need you to help me. I want to join with her. I want the best outcome for the family, for everybody. And so anyway, I spoke to her this morning on the phone, and beforehand I was just really getting in the zone and just thinking, I'm going to join with her. She's going to be my best buddy. We're going to have a great conversation, and we're going to just get the best outcome. And that's exactly what happens. And, even if this happens a few months ago, I would have felt really inferior. I know I would, but just, I don't know, this last few months, this absolute joining and remembering, it's Jesus that we're working for together. And so I came off the phone and I just felt so much gratitude, because it's like, that's it. That's as easy as it can be if I choose it to be, and I ask for help and I just get out of the way. And I just felt my heart was just like, it was just so much love. And it just showed me that when we just choose the miracle and the love, it just works out. And I just, it felt so beautiful to join with her, not separate, so, and before I went to speak to her as well, I used the healer's prayer as well. I've been using that all the time, and it works. It just does. And so I'm just like, thank you for starting the ripple of defenselessness over in Mexico. The Mexican wave has hit UK. So yeah, it just feels so freeing, and it's just a joy, and it's not about me. It's not about the role of what I'm even doing. It's just joining, and it's so humbling, and I just feel so grateful, because so much of the teachings that I've gained from all of you guys has just really, knocked my socks off. You're just incredible, and I just love you all, and I'm so grateful, because it's helped me change so much. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for that. That's just so beautiful. You just reminded me of a story that I had. I was doing the car insurance for the car, and the lady was talking to me, and she ended up talking all about her family and everything. She just wanted to like share, and I just sat back, and then all of a sudden she said, "Oh my God, you came in here for the car insurance, and there I am. I've just been talking about my family, and I'm really sorry." And I said to her, "I never came for the car, and I don't know where this came from." I went, "I never came for the car insurance." And she was like shocked in her chair. And I went, "I only came to share the love." And she went back in her chair and she went, "You're right. You are right. That is the only reason why we're doing this." I went, "Exactly." And then she was like, and then she just wanted to share more. And I was like, "Yeah." And we got into this love. We got into this love experience, right? And then she said, "Okay, then I'm going to print off all the paperwork now." So I've been in there for about 45 minutes of a 5-minute job. And then the next minute she gets all the paperwork, and I just couldn't believe this. She got up and she hugged me like I was her son. She got up out of her chair and she went like this, and I come walking over, and we have this huge, great hug, and like, "Oh my God," and she just like, "Thank you," and I'm like, "Thank you," and we just go on our way, and I'm just completely shocked. I'm like, I've just been hugging the car insurance lady, and it's like everything just becomes a beautiful joining when you see it in that way. Whereas if you go into it, okay, I'm just going to be doing my car insurance. Okay, I've got this difficult situation with the vicar. If you see it in that, then it's absolutely awful that you're trying to get something. But if you see it as, no, this is to bestow the miracle, this is to share in the love of God, and you already had that with the vicar. That's all you needed to do. Okay, we both love God. Let's just share in that, and what happens is what happens. So that's just absolutely beautiful. So thank you so much for that. Oh, lovely to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne Marie. And next up is Laura.
Hello.
Hey, Laura.
I am absolutely amazed at how perfect everything is, how it is so perfectly orchestrated. And I am just so grateful. Andy's been reading the readings, the last 2 sessions. They're perfect for the session. The topics are perfect. David just seems to take it deeper or somehow bigger. And today, Nana was just amazing for me, because seemingly in this world, my dad died, and I've had a hard time forgiving him, feeling like if I wasn't able to say to him personally, face to face, that there are certain things that I couldn't forgive him. And even though I get that that's not true, I just felt like that it was a barrier. And when Nana was talking, not that her mother is deceased in this world or anything, but there was a shift in mind. I was like, and I don't know what happened. I'm not all of it. But anyway, it just came over me, like forgiveness, that my dad is innocent. And he doesn't have to, I don't have to be face to face with him. And I just started crying. And I can feel the forgiveness and the love. And it was just so amazing. And so even thanking you guys, it seems silly in a way, because I know it's all coming from mind and from Jesus. And so thank you for being the witness to that, I guess is what I'm saying. And thank you to Holy Spirit for truly orchestrating everything, because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Laura. Oh, it's just so beautiful. The ripples are continuing on. Just feel so grateful, and I just feel that in my heart. This forgiveness is just going boom everywhere. So deep gratitude for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Next up is Esther.
Hi.
Hi, Esther.
I listened to Kenneth and Francis today in the morning, and he shared about his behavior, the anger, and in my work, in my most exacerbated aspect of the illness, I was very violent and got into a lot of trouble, and even with the law. And I was able to, even though I was on a lot of high-powered medications at the time, and I was living alone and just so much doubt, and it was maybe the first year I was doing the course. And I just kept saying, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. And and there was a lot of anxiety about what was going to happen with the case. And I kept thinking about the higher court and how he throws everything out, and the unworthiness. I worked with the unworthiness that I felt. And I worked with seeing the innocence in everything that was going on, and really handed it over. And even though that was going on, I still wound up in the hospital because I just too much inner work seemed like. But when I was faced with the police and everything, I was constantly doing the inner work, and it was just magical. And it gave me a real faith. But what's going on now is sometimes I still can't sleep, and I wonder, where's the rage now? Doesn't seem to be showing up as intense as it used to. And like, is there a point where one transcends that intensity? And can I count on the inner work that's going on to kind of save me from re-experiencing hospitalizations? And it seems like it can. And the other thing is, David, I'm working on our little project, and I did set it up online, and I just wanted you to check it out.
Yeah, thank you, Esther. So it's like we heard earlier around this movie Insurgent. It's like ultimately, to start to see that you've been battling against this idea or concept of yourself, and that's where the doubt comes in. Like, can I can I win this battle if it's not really an external enemy, then how can I face this? How can I go with this? So it's very much like what Luna was sharing. You have these memories of a time in your life when there was, great violence and there was great anger that was there. And now this is something you want replaced. But that's what Kenneth has been sharing about. This is like the ripple effect of the miracle of God's love. It just ripples out, and just rinses and washes away everything, even the most intense and seemingly serious darkness and memories. Yeah, this is it. And then it's funny you mentioned the project, because you've emailed me sometimes and shared a bit about it. But to me, I think this kind of project is you're getting into your activation of things that inspire you, and that's just what we talked about when we make a space and let go of these defenses. It gives us an opportunity for something new to come in and through. And yeah, we can use this spot on Ken's show to give a plug for, what is it? Connect, don't project. T-shirts. So that's fantastic, That's something that I guess came out last night or recently with my mouth. Connect, don't project.
Yeah, you can talk again, Esther.
I set it up, but they wouldn't accept it for T-shirts. They accepted it for postcards, and so I'm gonna have to redo the artwork somehow and resubmit it. But it's online at a Redbubble. Esther and Allen is the username, and it's all about you, David.
Postcards. That's great. Now we've got those. That's good.
And stickers and stuff.
Yeah.
But I've never felt this activated and peaceful ever. Just the peace is just divine, and I'm just so grateful for this experience. Started with the project, but just continuing with the mind training and working with Living Miracles. Just wow, it's so amazing. Thank you.
No, beautiful.
I was just thinking, Esther, one thing that I like to say, it's do to undo, and it's like when you're doing God's work, you're just being undone. You do to be undone. You just can't stop giving, and you just keep doing this. And like the character then is just like stepping out the way. So it's like everything that you think you are, through just moving in this direction of true service, it's just so much quicker. Because otherwise you're consistently thinking about yourself, you're thinking you've got all these problems and things, and they just perpetuate themselves all the time. You've only got to undo the door, and the ego just wants to come in and say, oh yeah, have a look at this. But do to undo, you just keep like, okay, on to the next thing, and then you haven't thought about any of your issues, and you're like just so happy, and you're just so joyful. You're like, oh, that was wonderful. You go to bed and you start all over again, and he's just watching you in the background, and you're like, where am I? I've completely forgotten all of my issues and all these ideas about myself. So yeah, it's completely true. And yeah, whatever you think about yourself is not real. That is completely and utterly true. So that's what I want you to see. Yeah, you can have another go.
Thanks. It was so weird. Last night I emailed at like 2 a.m. because I couldn't sleep, and then I got up again in the middle of the morning, and I went back to sleep thinking about the connect, don't project. And it was like a mantra in my mind while I was sleeping, and I was thinking while I'm sleeping, but I'm not doing the lesson. But that was my lesson.
Exactly. Exactly.
All through the night.
Yeah. It's always for you. Oh, thank you so much, Esther. Oh, it's beautiful.
Thank you, Esther. And Muna has her hand up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to share. I just had a light bulb come on when you, David, said to Esther, when you give up your defenses. And I'm like, what? I can my defenses. It's like I've been stuck in defense position thinking I can't not defend myself because, of course, in the ego world and the physical world, it's just stupid not to defend yourself, especially physically. So yeah, I just saw this stuckness in a position of defensiveness. That was great. Thank you, David. I often find the breakthrough comes when I realize I don't have to do something. I don't have to do. It's like the ego presents things as I have to, and then I believe they have to because it's like, it's so forceful, so convincing. But I read actually in research that we become more aggressive if someone is cheering us on to compete. So that flashlight also came to me. I'm probably being egged on by the ego to keep, to defend myself, and that raises the aggression in the mind. So it becomes like a vicious circle. But yeah, it's so great to see all these insights, like these poking holes in the ego story. It's the only way out. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Muna.
Thank you, Muna. And next up is Aman.
Hello.
Hey, Aman.
Hey, man. Yep.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Can you hear?
Yep. Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm not able to hear. Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Yep, can you hear us?
Yeah. Hi, Ken.
Hey.
Hi, David.
Hi.
Actually, something happened today, which I was surprised to see the heading of today's session, because it's very much related to what happened, something that happened with me today. In an afternoon today, I got a call from my younger brother, and as I have, like I told before, my parents both have tested positive for COVID, and my brother called, and I'm living in a different city. I'm at present I'm in a different city. I'm living alone, and in Rishikesh. And my brother said that he said that you are living alone, and in case if you get infected with COVID, then there is nobody to take care of you. So he said you must come. You take a taxi and you come here, because at least here we are here, so other people are here, so somebody can, in case if something happens to you, if you get infected, then we or somebody else can take care of you. But I was like, no, I don't want to come, and it's a stupid, I felt like, because that city, the city they are in, it's in the red zone, and I just don't feel like going anyways. I don't feel like going. So we had he immediately started arguing with me, and he gets very aggressive when it comes to arguments. And then he bluntly, with a tremendous conviction, he said, within 3 days you will get infected within 3 days. And when he said it with so much of conviction, that it just blew me. And I suddenly got terrified, and I got into panic, and I said, okay, I will think about what you have said. And I just cut the call after that. I said, give me some time to think, and then I will see. I cut the call, and I got into so much of panic, thinking that yes, I'm living alone. And I said, what these words that came out of his mouth, is it some sort of a prophecy, or what is it? And I started thinking of what should I do, because I don't want to go back. That's out of my mind, because it's too much to go back right now. And but I started thinking that maybe I should keep at least the emergency medicines with me. I should there are a set of homeopathic medicines and some allopathic medicines. Then I started thinking about maybe I should get the vaccine. So there is a male nurse here that I know. So I called him. I said, can you arrange a vaccine for me? And he said that it may take a week or few weeks. He said it's available in hospitals, but it's too crowded. And he said, yeah, I don't suggest you to go. So I said, okay. And I cut the phone. And within an hour, I started feeling ill. And that increased my panic even more. I started feeling heat in my eyes, heaviness in my head, and somewhat a bit ill. And that started making me feel like whether this was some sort of a prophecy that came out of his mouth, and what am I supposed to do? And yeah, so that sort of fear came in. It was very intense in the evening. It was very, very intense. And so I've been trying to work through it, and I've been confused, like what is it that I should do? How should I see this situation? And whether I should go and get those medicines, emergency medicines, just in case, and should I take the vaccine? And till before this phone call with my brother, I used to go every day. I used to go out. I used to go to the shops, buy groceries, go to nearby restaurant to eat food. But today I could not go to, out of fear. I didn't go to the shop. I didn't go to restaurant. I ate whatever was, I cooked something and ate something on my own. And I'm just confused, like I don't know what is the right approach. Like if I'm like, if I feel like if I'm buying medicine, if I'm taking vaccine, are these going to be like eh, like in a way I would be like planning and I would be defending. So I don't know. So if you guys could comment.
Well, I think that your attitude and your state of mind is the utmost importance, because it's the purpose or the perspective that you look at this and look at the world and look at yourself. It's going to make all the difference. And it's like that's that sense that you have to come back and claim the power of interpretation, that you have the power to interpret the world as you wish to interpret it. So probably on the news and right now with what is being shared and extended in a worldwide way around about India, that once you have that moment of panic, you can just come back to the idea that this is a thought, and am I going to go with this thought and this tangent? Am I going to give my mind over to it, or am I going to go in another direction? So many people that I have known that they just, it's in that moment of the inception of an idea, that's when it's the time to really give it over. Like Ken was sharing at the beginning of the program, of feeling a stream of rejection thoughts, and then finally in one instant it was like, what am I thinking? What am I thinking? You have to come back to how powerful the mind is, and would I give my mind over to those thoughts? Because as soon as you take a bite out of that apple, as soon as you just bite onto that one thought, then a string of other thoughts seem to follow it. And that is a discouraging string of thoughts, and that's where you have to really come clear. I think recently I shared that both Francis and another friend of mine, when they met me for the first time, they had this thought in their mind, "You will die." that was the thing, but both of them have come to see it as the ego feeling very threatened, like it is feeling like it's going to die as you come in contact with love and light. And that's important to keep this context right now of how important it is to choose the miracle. It is a choice. It's not something that is outside of us, or that we have to kind of, try to cultivate. It actually it comes down to a choice. Am I going to make that choice? So I'm glad you were able to kind of go through and share the whole context of what it is and what you experienced, starting off with that call from your brother, that's where the moment is right there. And your initial reaction was, no, I don't feel it. I don't feel it. It's not necessary. You had a very strong first thought, and then you have to come back to that. That's what this whole show is about. That's finding that strength is how we find our defenselessness, because defenselessness and strength are the same. And then if you jump on that train of defenses, then yeah, it can be a long train. It can be a long haul, and you don't really want to go on that track. Yeah.
I was just thinking about the movie The Man Who Knew Too Little. I don't know whether you've seen that, Omar. Yeah, you've seen that one. Yeah. And it's like to treat everything like that, It's like your scenario with your brother. All of a sudden, like a phone call comes in, but you're treating it as, it's only the theatre of life. And so the brothers come on, you've said no, rah, 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 rah. Okay, you're going to get ill in 3 days. Okay, thank you very much, And then you're just like with... what's his name? Bill Murray. He's just on to the next scene. He's just into the next thing. Next minute he's being chased by the police, and he's like, whatever. No, you may not see my driving license. And he's just he's just going along with it. He's not taking any of it. He's not taking any of it seriously whatsoever, even though it's seemingly like real and there's like this threat to his life. But he just doesn't know that. So he's just going on from scene to scene to scene. And that's exactly the same as us. It's like the ego called, and the ego wanted you to believe in it. And it's just, oh, thank you very much for the call. I'm going to now go back into my miracle. Thank you very much. I need do nothing. I'm here to be happy. I'm happy here. Thank you very much. So I'm here to do miracles. So that's what I'm doing for the next 3 days. Thank you. Thank you so much, man. Always good to see you.
Yeah.
Well, that's all our hands for today.
Wow, perfect timing.
Yeah.
The Lord is in charge of everything. He arranges time and space. Oh, thank you so much, David.
Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
For your devotion to this pathway of miracles. Thank you so much for giving your heart to the Spirit.
Yeah, it does. It feels like such a beautiful miracle that we're all just in this beautiful miracle. And as you shared, David, it's just like the devotion has just like been like bam, and everyone's desire for forgiveness. It's like, I don't know, I feel like the level's just gone up or something. It's like, we're going to forgive the whole world. It's over. And there's nothing that can stop us. That's what it felt.
The miracle.
It's just gone boom. It's just rippled around the world. We've just started with a Mexican wave of defenselessness, and now this should be the reports on the news. And there's been another defenselessness case in Tijuana. It's infectious. There's a new pandemic. It's defenselessness.
Yeah, wouldn't that be a fun news story? Another outbreak of defenselessness. We are recording today. Yet another case of defenselessness.
We have a severe case of defenselessness on our hands here. Oh, thank you so much, everyone. Oh, many blessings, one and all, as always. And let's take this miracle with us wherever we go, and know that you're loved. And as the reading said, I am here, and he will never leave you. So yeah, many blessings, everyone. Love you very much. Thank you. Bye for now.